So, and I want you guys to think, I want you guys, if you guys agree with this or not. If not, if so, we could. Matter of fact, we'll talk about it. For a man, for a male, for me, and this is okay. So, before I even go any further, I'll break it. I'll start from this. I'll I'll preface our conversation with this. As a boy, as a young man, as a boy, and then as a young man, I watched. I watched my father. I watched my father. I watched how he treated my mother. I watched
Mhm,
how she treated him.
mhm,
But I also watched how he carried himself as well.
mhm,
I watched how he carried himself not only in the home, in our home, but
mhm.
I watched how he carried himself in my paternal grandmother's home, in my maternal
Okay.
grandmother's home. Also I watched him how he carried himself when when he was out in the field, when we played with me and my brother, when we all played baseball. But then later on in life as an adult, as I watched him, you know, be this larger than life individual, which I still think he is a larger life individual. But I watched him as an adult, how he carried himself as being an umpire for almost 30 years, a little league umpire for almost 30 years. And
Ah,
I watched how people gravitate toward him. I watched how people would ask him questions and then just, or better yet, just have, you know, a couple of kind words for him.
mhm.
And I just watched in admiration as to see how he carried himself and how he represented himself
Wow.
around other people.
Mhm.
So I wanted to preface that with that. I wanted to preface our conversation with that. So one of the things that I thought about is, and you guys can agree with me or not, and we'll discuss it. I think that the core values that us as men should have, these are core values now, and I think we should possess respect, honor, loyalty, fealty, and some sense of a moral code. What do you ladies think about
I want to go back to talking about your dad for a minute
that?
because I want to know from a male standpoint how important was having that bird's eye view of seeing your father being an umpire, seeing how he interacted, seeing him be this larger than life. I want to spend a little time right there uh, because I believe that our value system is framed from early childhood.
Correct.
So
Correct.
I would
Yep.
love for you to go a tad bit deeper, if you don't mind, Mr. CEO, on what
I
that
don't mind.
was like, if you feel comfortable, what that was like seeing him be that to everyone, and was that the same as what he was to you?
Right.
You know, I didn't when the this is gonna be like a no, it won't be difficult to say. When I saw him again from childhood to adulthood. Now as a child, I was in awe of
Hey,
who he
Simone.
was. And Simone, as a child, I was in awe
Okay.
of who he was as a person.
Mm.
So I looked at him and I was in awe of that because I saw this ordinary guy doing extraordinary things.
Mhm.
Wow.
You
Ooh.
know, no matter no matter what happened, no matter anything, he was always available, always there for us, even though he didn't always have a lot of words to say to us, but his actions spoke volumes.
Mm.
You know, he didn't, especially when we started playing baseball, it was, and I understand, I didn't understand this as a kid, but I understand it now. You know, he did coach me, or my twin brother. He didn't coach us during our
Okay.
little league career. He didn't coach us at all. The one time that he did coach us was when we were 13 years old and we played all stars. So that was different. And he really didn't coach then. He
Mm.
allowed the other gentlemen at the park to coach us.
Mhm.
Okay.
And I did like again as a kid, I didn't understand it then. As an adult, I understand it now because I understood that there were some things that these other men could teach us that I know that he couldn't. And even though I know this man has a wealth of knowledge when it comes to baseball and things of that nature, there's still some things that he could have that we can learn from watching other people.
Mm-hmm.
And then as I got older, and then coming back to Georgia the second time, and then having a chance to learn how to be an umpire, then also share the field, also have the honor, and I call it an honor because it was an honor for me. And even if he asked me to do it today, to this day, it would still be an honor for me to do it. To have the honor of sharing the field with him,
Mm.
just to be in that moment, to see him do what he had been doing for 30 years, and then to see the tremendous amount of respect
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
and that he was given. It wasn't just because of him being an umpire, just because of him being the person that he was,
Mm-hmm.
the person that I won't
Yes.
say that he was, the person that he is.
Okay. Okay.
A
Okay.
very the same. Some of the qualities that he displayed with us were the qualities he's played with everybody else. Very stern, yet very fair.
Okay.
He'll always call it down the middle, and then
Mhm.
he won't sugar he does he though he won't she doesn't sugarcoat anything,
Wow.
but yet he always made it a point to try to be open to communication,
Okay.
and he always wanted to make sure if I had a question, I made sure that I asked if I wasn't sure about something, and he would explain it the best way that he knew how, and I understood it. Now, for
Wow.
something that I really wasn't sure about or I was really confused about, I would still ask, and I would know I would ask him, and I know I would get the answer that I needed.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and a lot of those things, like I said, as an adult, to watch him do that, and then again for me to share the honor of having being on the field with him, just to see him in motion, and
Mm.
just kind of as a kid, as a kid, you see your parents do these amazing things, and
Yes.
it and
Yes.
it and it puts a smile on your face,
Yes.
or makes you feel really, really proud that you're that son or you're the daughter. That was me
And you're
because I
giving
saw
you
this.
that now. I don't know if you know that, but just
Yep.
hearing you talk about, look at your faces lighting up.
Yeah.
You've used the word honor so many times because that's how you feel. And I don't get to hear many men talk about their dads like that. It's kind of refreshing. Would you agree, Miss J?
I agree. I agree totally. And you're right. Going back to what you were saying earlier, as far as a young man or even a young woman's perception of what a male is starts from
Mm.
childhood.
Mm.
So the images that we have at that young age determines how we even view men in our older adult life.
Yes.
If you don't have
Yep.
good role models or you don't have a good representation, then it's almost like you're either going to search for that or
Hmm.
you're going to gravitate to what you've seen.
Yes.
Yep.
Absolutely. That's
So for you
And
powerful.
to have those memories even now, as you reminisce and you reflect on that, that's
Hmm.
something that, you know what I mean? Other people, even with us, we can see it. We can see
Yes.
the love. We can see the admiration. We
Yes.
can see all of those good things that were instilled in you just from this man doing what he was supposed to do. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
right.
Exemplifying excellence in your
Mhm.
eyes. You know what I'm saying? And that helped you again to incorporate some of those attributes into your own life. So
Yep.
that's a good thing.
It's a great
It
thing.
was
It's a great
it,
thing.
man. Even when my eyes light up all the time, and my face lights up when I talk about it because it. I don't know about any gentleman who have had the opportunity or still have the opportunity to have their fathers around.
Mhm.
I'll tell you that for me to have my father still around, it it means a lot
Hmm.
because this is a person
Yes.
that I can go to and ask questions if I have a question and get an honest, no BS answer.
Yes.
and it's always to know someone that someone's always gonna be. He's always gonna be in my corner, whether I'm right or wrong. Now, the one statement that he told me, and I carried this on with myself when I got married and was raising step kids.
Mm-hmm.
I will defend you if you're right,
Mm.
but if you're wrong, I don't have a leg to stand on, and I can't defend you.
Wow.
I can defend you to the limits of that, to the
Wow.
limits of it. But other than that, I can't. If you're right, I'll defend you to the ends of the earth. But if
Mm-hmm.
you're wrong, it's my responsibility to call you out on it.
Absolutely.
Correct.
That is a good parent. That's a great parent.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Let me get some shout outs right quick. We got Sinette. Hey, Sinette. Sinette says, hello, y'all. Cousin
Hey,
Kenyatta
Sanet,
is in the house. Hey, cuz. Mr. Abston says, hello, chat.
Mr.
Auntie
Abster,
Diane is in the room. Hello, hello. KHA, Kai Butler. Thank you for coming through here. Cousin Kenyatta says, my husband is listening in. Good evening to him as well. He's not on social media. He is amazed as he is listening to Fred speak about his dad. See, we getting this, we
Yeah.
getting this warm and fuzzy, this really good, this good
ah,
stuff. Because I mean,
yeah,
and I don't see him light up like that a whole lot. But I want to see more of that. Simone says, unfortunately, her father was not and still isn't really a team player in her life, but I'm glad that he is still here. And that's a positive way to look at it, Simone.
It is.
Hats off
yes,
to you. Hats off
yeah.
to you. You used a phrase, Fred, larger than life. Talk about your father. What made him larger than life?
Just and again, this is again, I look at this from a child's viewpoint to an adult's viewpoint.
Mm-hmm.
You know, as a kid, he was this larger than life character because like I said, he was an ordinary person doing extraordinary things.
Mm-hmm.
And I always looked at that as like, wow, I really thought my dad was superhuman, to be honest with you.
Mm-hmm.
And I think when the realization came that he wasn't, it wasn't a downer, but it was kind of that thing that made me realize, okay, he's just as human as I am. And that particular realization came as an adult.
Wow.
When I was an adult. It was like, and I know we've spoken about this a couple of times, LHG, but
Mm-hmm.
to kind of preface what I'm about to say is that I always thought he was a larger than life character. And I always thought he was superhuman. That's
Mm.
one thing.
Mm-hmm.
Now, when my paternal grandmother meaning him, that's also his mom.
Okay.
That's the first time that I saw this larger than life superhuman character
Mm-hmm.
break down,
Yeah.
See? Wow.
have a true emotional moment, and I was
Yeah.
like, and my first thought was like,
Wow.
damn,
Yeah.
okay,
Yeah.
he's human,
He's
and
human.
and the
Yes.
fun, and the thing about it is, it for me, it just made me respect him even more. To be
Mm-hmm.
honest with you, I don't
Absolutely.
Yeah.
the love and respect was already there.
Right.
It just magnified both of those to extraordinary levels at that point.
Mm-hmm.
And
Did it make him not so large? Did it bring him down in size a little? Like, wow, dad,
a
he
little,
breathes
but
like
not a
me.
lot.
Okay, got you. Got you.
A little, but not a lot, because because again, I when I look at my father and I talk about him, I speak from a I'm an adult, but I speak with a child's admiration of him.
Right.
And that's what I love about it. It's like even in your adulthood, I think you older than me. You got to be pushing 50, ain't you?
I'm 51.
Oh, you didn't push past 50. But just to see this is like, that's my dad, this pride.
Yeah.
And but the opposite side, look at this comment right here. Cousin Kenyatta says, she's speaking of her husband. He says the only thing he could be sure of about his dad
Mm.
is that he definitely was going to keep leaving him.
Mm.
So do you
Wow.
see how important and impactful
Yeah,
your presence and your absence, dads. It's they're both impactful in some kind of way.
that's true.
They're both super impactful. Hi, Janae. Thank you for being in here. Sanette says, sadly, I can't miss my dad because even after meeting him, I still don't know him. I felt nothing when he passed.
Mm.
I said, oh, he passed. That is sad. But you didn't know him, Sanette. I mean, and that's a lot of people's story. It's a
Yes.
lot of people's story. I looked up more than my granddad versus my dad. That's a lot of people's story. So whether it was
Unfortunately,
your biological dad or
unfortunately,
a father figure, you had someone, many of us had someone we looked up to. But that honor and that pride that you have kicked off this show with, I'm like this, like, for real, Fred. Oh man. I did it
look,
for real.
and and even now, like when now we spent time over the weekend. There and we put some things together.
Wow.
We were putting drywall, we put sheetrock up on the ceiling of the garage because the old sheetrock
Mm,
had caved in, and amazingly didn't touch the one of the cars. And
Mm.
even
mm,
though in doing something like that, it was still an impactful moment for me because I was again able to spend time with my dad, able to spend, to learn something that I didn't know about, that I didn't really know about.
yes.
And it was amazing. I mean, even though I didn't ask a lot of questions, I just while I'm helping, I'm watching it, I'm observing
Yeah,
because there may be a time where that we might have to do that. And you know what I'm saying? It's like it it was fu- it was such a fun experience to me,
I love
and
it.
and the other thing that I'll kind of preface this is that, you know, even though my mother and my father are not, together,
Mm-hmm.
it is I made it it's vitally important that it was I made it vitally important that I keep in constant contact with him
Good.
because
Mhm.
Yes.
I know because he's busy doing his thing from he works, but he also calls high school baseball, and then now after high school baseball season is over with, then little league baseball is going to be ramping up here pretty soon. And
So he
he's
stayed
always
in sports after all these years. He stayed in that field.
yep, he's been a coach. He's played softball. He's been an umpire for, like I said, for the last 25 to 30 years, and that's something that he's been doing. And
Mm-hmm.
that, and again, for me to have that, to be to be have that honor to be able to field with him, to
Mm-hmm.
to literally share the same field with him and watch him do his thing,
Wow.
and then also, you know, me being on the same field with him, and then he's teaching me, while we're actually in a live game, which is cool too.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a lot of things that he taught me that are common sense, but a lot of things that he also taught me that he still teaches me, that's also like that's been life changing as well. Because
Like values.
yeah,
Okay.
the value that he displayed around my mother, the way that he projected himself around my mother, the
Mm,
way he projected himself with us, you know,
mm.
he made sure that he respected my mom.
Oh,
He
that's
made sure
good.
that he honored my mom. He was, loyal to my mom to a fault, but he still displayed fealty, but he also had a very strong moral code. And I do say loyal to a fault because, there's some things that I could say about that, but I won't because that's my dad. And again, we talked about that. That's something that we as a family talked about, and we all just come to it. We all came to an understanding. But
Mm-hmm.
the loyalty part was still there.
Right.
But then he has a very strong moral code.
Okay.
It's I believe that these core values are what should comprise of a man. You should
Right.
have respect. You should be a respecter of persons. You
Yes.
know, the only person I know that's not a respecter of persons is God. But God ain't a respecter of persons, but we have to be.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he a man should be honorable,
Yes.
meaning that if you say something, you honor it.
Keep your word. Come
If you
on.
do something, you honor it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
A man should be loyal, should have loyalty. If if you're not married and you have kids, then your loyalty should be towards your children.
Mm,
If you're married, then your loyalty should be to your wife and or kids if you have them. Your
absolutely.
loyalty should be to your family,
Yes.
extended and immediate.
That's
You
huge.
should you should
Let me check in with Kenyatta real quick, and we got a couple comments. Fred, she understands your sentiments. She says her dad was phenomenal. I still feel him with me, and he's been gone since '85. So she says, "I feel you, Fred." Simone has a different story. Her dad was not a team player when it came to when she was born, and everything I went through her birth journey. Thank God you had your granddad, Simone. I know how
yeah,
much he meant to you as well. And Simone says, Sinette, wow. In
yeah,
response to Sinette's response, we all got different daddy stories.
That's
Thank
true.
God, second chances, other chances, people standing in the gap for us. Because just
yep,
as you speak so highly, there's someone else that doesn't.
Correct.
They,
yep,
they may
Correct.
know who they are, but their sentiments are not as kind, honorable, respectful at all.
Right.
yeah. You're right. And even to the opposite of that, to the opposite of me having this amazing stories about my father, my kids probably would not echo the same sentiments about me.
Wow.
And I be very transparent when I say that, because all the values that my father poured into me as a kid and as a young
Mhm.
adult, those were not always the values that I returned
Mm.
Mm.
when I became a father myself.
Mm. That's
And
Let's
deep.
unpack that. That's
That's
deep.
deep.
that's
It is deep.
that led
That's deep,
that
bro.
led that that led to me being a father in absentia.
Right.
Okay.
And so the honor, the respect, the loyalty, the fealty, the work ethic, the moral code, all these things my father instilled in me
Okay.
as a kid,
Mm-hmm.
as a wee tot. Watch him live every last word of these words out.
Mm-hmm.
The but the mind demonstrated every last one of those words. And now when it's time for me to graduate and become a father myself, and then kind of matriculate into manhood, or however they want you want to call it, those values were not returned.
Wow.
Those
Sinette
values were not
says
returned.
she carries issues into relationships. Okay, you just described why we're doing this. Okay.
Correct. Correct.
Because we carry these issues into relationships, and we need to have these conversations to say, hold on, before you kick me to the curb, learn a
Let's
little bit
talk about
about my backstory. I don't mean to come across harshly, but I didn't have my dad the way you did. So maybe I could learn to respect a man a little bit more, even though one wasn't present in my childhood. You just, my dear, described exactly why we're here. And to KHA, I can't pronounce, I think it's Kai Butler. Great question. Should a man be honorable toward the mom of the children when knowing she drug him through the dirt constantly? Mm,
yes.
there
My
you
short answer, yes.
okay.
The reason I say that is that it's a real simple thing. It's a real simple thing, honestly. Just because she's dragging that man through the mud,
Mm-hmm.
you don't have to return that energy. You
Mm,
definitely don't have to return that type of energy. You can drag me through the mud all you want. You won't get that much of a response from me, because
mm,
in between what you're saying, all this stuff you dragging me through the mud about, in between me defending myself from
Mm-hmm.
you dragging me through the mud,
mhm.
is one thing that stays constant, and that's the truth. The truth is in the middle of all of that.
That's
And,
true.
ge- and,
Yeah.
and guess who's the benefactor of the truth? The child.
Mhm.
Absolutely. And the benefactor of the honor.
Yep.
Correct.
I'm not.
Because that honor, that's your characteristic. So whether
Yep.
she deserves it or not, that's between her and God. You're doing what you're supposed to do by honoring her. She is half the reason why y'all have that child. So to me, it's admirable for you to remain who you are and honor
Mhm.
that woman. Now, if she want to do some dragging, that's on her. But the child needs to see you honor her.
Yep.
Just my
Because that child has that, now that child sees the respect part of that too.
Correct.
right, right.
But also it also shows that as a father you have loyalty towards the child. You don't
Yes.
because you and the mom are not together, so that means you don't have to have loyalty towards her. You have loyalty to the child.
Mhm. Mhm.
And
And a
when
lot
you
of people,
have that, to me, you still being loyal to her because that child belongs to both of you. When
that's
you
right.
stand up in that child's life, to me, that is loyalty.
You got,
That's definitely loyalty. We got
yep.
a couple more comments here. Y'all coming through tonight. Woo-wee. Okay, so cousin says, I've seen my dad pay other people's rent, car notes, buying toys for other children whose family didn't have. His generosity was admirable, which makes sense to why you're the way you are, cousin Kenyatta. That makes total sense. I totally get that. Simone says she has avoided relationships
Mm.
because of issues with her
oh,
father.
That's deep.
We gotta talk
Yeah.
because you
we got
deserve
Yeah.
to live, my dear.
Simone, we got to unpack
We
that for
got to
real.
unpack that because I don't want you avoiding happiness, joy, or anything because of what somebody else lacked.
Exactly.
Because the Lord
And
gave you an awesome granddad that basically raised you and instilled things in you. We gonna unpack that. We definitely gonna unpack
yeah,
that.
we have to. One of the
Um,
things I will say, Simone, is that
mhm.
my children were the exact benefactor of the same thing that you speak about.
Mhm.
Wow, wow.
One of the things that I find very important now in my, I won't call it elder age because I ain't that old, but one of the things I find now as I'm a lot older is that
Mhm.
I can't erase I can't erase what happened 27 years ago.
That's
Yeah.
Those are
Yeah.
my two older kids, my daughter and my son, my middle son. I can't erase what happened 23 years ago.
Yeah.
Mhm.
That's my youngest son. I can't
Mhm.
even I can't I can't erase none of that. If I had a
Yeah.
chance to go back in time and fix it, I would, but I don't have that ability. So I can't. What I'm focusing on now is here in the present.
Okay.
Build a relationship from where it starts now.
Yes.
Apologize for what needs to apologize for the past.
Come on, bro.
Leave it where it is
Come
Yeah.
on.
because it don't sense to dredging it up anymore because it's not relevant. Build on what's here. Build build that trust up. Build that build that relationship to where it's a mutual trust and mutual honesty between each other. You
Yeah.
know that those are the elements that take time. Those are elements that require time. Those elements also exact a lot of pain,
Mhm.
unfortunately,
That
because
is
like I said before, I will, you know, I will always be transparent about my experiences as a father because, well, hell, I really wasn't one. I really wasn't one, and I've said this on more than one occasion. It that eats at me, but
Mhm.
I can't change I can't change what happened. I can only affect now.
Right.
but I admire you for even saying that. There's so much honor in just honesty. And some children are probably hoping and wishing that their parent would just say, I really wasn't a great mom. I really wasn't a great dad to you. But here I am now.
Right.
I apologize. You said that. An apology goes a long way. I thank you for that. For
Yeah.
just saying, although my dad exemplified A, B, and C, I didn't always follow through with that in my life.
Mhm.
And you might
Nope.
have had that wonderful home, It doesn't mean you're going to follow it to the letter.
Nope.
You human. Hi, Carla
Nope.
Smith. Thank you for joining us. Carla says, I share the same sentiments with Frederick. My dad was my hero. He was larger than life for me. Even though he is not here with me today, I still find myself looking to him for advice. Thank you for sharing that, Carla Smith. Yes. There is honor in honesty. Yes.
Yeah.
It can
Yeah.
free people. Honesty can free some people up. I ain't
Yep.
saying you perfect, but when you come with your honesty and you acknowledge what got disconnected, that'll set some folks free and save a few hours off the long couch.
Exactly.
Yes.
Saying,
Yes.
yep, you're right. I did not show up as I should have.
Mhm.
I
Yep.
did not protect you. I wasn't there as I should be, but I stand here today saying I want another chance.
Right.
At 51, I want to be your father.
Yep.
Will you
And you
have
know
me?
what?
And if they don't, then that's on them. But if they do, then wonderful. But you tried.
Correct.
Yep. Exactly.
That's all you can
And
do.
yeah, it kind of leads to kind of one of the things I really want to kind of talk about. What are the tenets I want to jump into with us? Values are either values are either viewed as either a high level overview of who you are or a deep dive of who you are.
I like that. So either high level overview or it's down beneath the surface.
Yep.
I
But
like that.
it's all about it's all about how what's presented.
Okay.
True.
Because some people will see your values and your moral code and stuff like that. They'll see that from this high level overview, and they don't look at it from perspective, or they
Mm,
don't look at it from, and like I said, all this stuff that I'm saying is highly subjective, but
Mhm.
there's truth in it. And that is how I thought people looked at me when I told them what my values were. They either looked at it as high level,
mhm.
or they ask more questions because they want to go deeper into it.
Right.
Because just because I say I have a moral code, that's high level.
Yes.
Right.
What does that moral code consist of?
Mm-hmm.
That's the
Right.
deep dive part of it.
Mm-hmm.
If they say if I say I'm respectful, that's the high level part of it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, who do you respect? What do you respect? That's the
Right.
deep dive.
Right.
Good. That's
Because
good, brother.
if people will look at it from either one of those two perspectives,
Okay.
look at it from the high level, where they look at it from the deep dive, that to me it's relevant, but it's not relevant, because either way it goes, they're gonna ask, someone's gonna ask questions about it, regardless whether it's high level or deep dive, because they'll ask you, do you respect someone? High
Mhm.
level. Then they may jump into the deep dive. Well, who and what do you respect? That's
Mhm.
deep dive, because now you're giving a much more complex answer.
Mhm.
So it's I mean, some people don't look at it from that particular type of point of view, but
Mhm.
I do, because I found myself analyzing people, especially their value system. I'm analyzing it from one of those two perspectives, and then I ask questions like, okay, well, who
Right.
do you respect? What do you respect? Who do you honor? Why do you honor them? You know, you're loyal to this person because of what? Or better yet, what's your work ethic? That's another value that I think should be should be a core value. And what's your moral code? What is it? Do you have a sense of right or wrong, or do you live in a morally gray area?
Mhm. Mhm.
But let's compare respect to honor. Honor to me is respect on steroids. I can respect you, but when it comes to honoring someone, that's a whole nother ball game to me.
Honor is more of the it's like I said, it's respect on steroids. It's more than just to me, it's more than just the physical gifts you give to somebody. Now this is the admiration,
Yeah.
the adoration, the love and the care that you have for this person. That's, to me, that's honor. But like the respect is just like, okay, well, I know who you are, and I can give you that type of thing. Uh, for me, respect is always, for me, respect is always given to a person automatically on the basis of, number one, male, you're a male or female. Number two, you're a human being.
Right.
So so that level of respect is automatically given until you give me a reason or cause to respect or not respect you anymore, any further. You're always going to have those two aspects of it for me. But if you show me that you aren't worthy of the rest of that respect, then it won't be given to you.
Mm-hmm.
And I've said it. I just said it earlier. The only individual that I know that is not a respecter of persons is God. Unfortunately, we have to be a respecter of persons. And it is not because it's not because we're mandated to do it. We're people say that, okay, you're mandated to show me respect. Well, no, I don't have to show you anything.
Right.
It's not, I don't have to show you anything. It's my choice to show you respect. It's my choice to give you honor. It's my choice to show you loyalty or fealty. And a lot of people think that these things are deserved. I deserve your honor. I deserve your respect. I deserve your loyalty. I deserve your fealty. No. All those things I just mentioned are earned. And if you ain't earned them, you don't deserve them, nor will you get them. Because a lot of people say, well, I deserve your honor. Well, no. What did you do? What did you do for me to deserve? What did you do for me to extend that to you? What did you do for me to extend my fealty to you? What did you do for me to extend my loyalty to you? A lot of people think that these things are automatic.
Unless you go Bible and you talk about parents.
Correct. I was thinking that as well.
That's a mandate.
It is a mandate, but it's almost contradictory, right? Because as Fred was saying, to have or to give respect or to give honor, it should be earned. It's not something that is entitled to you, right? But as parents, I know when I was growing up, a lot of times fear was instilled so that you would give respect.
Yes.
Yep.
Okay. So that fear constituted you're gonna respect me.
Right. Whether you like it or not.
Or excuse my language, you're gonna get your ass beat. Right?
Exactly.
That part.
So
go bitch right now.
Exactly.
And don't come back here with no small one either.
Right. Yeah.
So with that being said, it's just that when you've grown up with that or you've been ingrained to believe that, it's almost as if when you get older, now you have to reprogram yourself to think otherwise.
Yes.
Yep.
Yes.
And that's not always easy for some people.
Not at all.
You continue to go through life mimicking those same ideologies that you had as a child. You know what I mean? So even like I said with Fred, the way that he speaks of his father, that is one glimpse of what a father-son relationship looks like, or just having a father in your life. Everybody doesn't have that. Everybody doesn't have that good aspect.
That's right.
And because of that, again, there are certain things that you've instilled in yourself by seeing that. And some things you just kind of had to learn by the wayside, being a parent of your own. But I think it's the real touchy part of that is with women, I think we kind of take on that aspect totally differently. You always hear or you think that, a young boy needs their dad, right?
Yeah.
It's true, but girls do too.
Absolutely, we do.
And it's like when we don't have that model or we don't have that template, it just kind of puts us in a sense of growing up where not that we're abandoned, but we're always looking for that ideal father.
Yes.
Yep.
looking for that ideal man that's
Yes.
going to be like the father we didn't
That we
have.
didn't have. That's right.
You
Yep.
know, and it's kind of unfortunate. You know, I can honestly say I went through that myself. I
Me
can be
too.
transparent with that. I knew my father. My father knew me. Um, but unfortunately, my father had a very bad drug addiction and
Mhm.
alcohol addiction.
Okay.
So he wasn't in a place mentally to even be a father to me.
Wow.
Right.
But
Mhm.
I remember, and I'll never forget, I wrote this in my book, and I told him this story that I remember one day I was like 4 years old, and I grew up in Cambridge, Massachusetts. So, you know, times were different. Little kids could do, you know, grown up stuff and nobody would bother you, you know.
Right. Yeah.
Um,
Right.
but I remembered walking down the street and he was coming, you know, facing me, right? And I never forget, I looked at him and I was waiting for him to acknowledge me, and he didn't. He just walked right past
My God.
me. And that hurt me to the core. Like, I didn't realize
Yeah.
how that affected me, even going into
Mhm.
my adult life. It made me feel like I was insignificant. You know, here it is, I'm your daughter, and you don't even claim me, like you don't even acknowledge me.
My
That
God.
really bothered me, you know, and it took
Mhm.
me
Wow.
years
Mhm.
to get past that. It took me
Right.
years to find
Wow.
value in myself. Um,
Mm.
so it like I
Wow.
said, there's everyone experiences things differently. Oh, great. I knew this was gonna happen. But you know, the devil's a lie. Anyway, everybody experiences things everybody experiences things differently, you know.
Yes.
Right.
And I feel like this subject, this topic is so needed because there are so many
Yes. Yes.
people that don't take the time to they don't take the
Yeah.
time to unpack that, you know, to unpack that hurt, to unpack that those issues of abandonment.
Mhm.
All of
Mhm.
those things stick to you. And as someone said in the comments earlier, unfortunately for women, these things follow us in our
Oh, yes, they
relationships.
do.
They follow
Yes.
us how we choose the men that we bring into our lives, or the
Yeah.
men that we may have children with, or the men that, you know, we decide to marry. You know what I mean? A lot of these
Mhm.
unresolved emotions that we're dealing with, we bring that on. And we don't know, once we get into these situations, we don't always know how to combat those things,
That's
you
right.
know, because
Right.
we've never had really, you know, good realistic views on how to deal with it. So it's like
That's
now
right.
we've got to learn not only how to suppress the past or to get over
Mhm.
the past and heal from that, but
Mhm.
now we've got to find out why we're even in the situation that we're in. Why did we even
Yes.
choose or to subject ourselves to the situation that we're in, and then
Yeah.
be able to heal from that so that we can even move forward. So
Absolutely.
yeah, I mean,
Mm.
I'm like I said, just being here and listening to everything, you have no idea. Like I could go on all night, but it is so imperative as well for women to understand, you know, the value of having that father as well, you know.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I wanna flip this a little bit. Fred, you gave us some very good values, moral
Right.
codes, and honor and respect. But I'm gonna flip this because there have been some men, whether you see them portrayed in films or in real life in homes, the values are power, authority, and control.
Yep. They
Sometimes
are.
fathers have been abusive. Sometimes fathers have been sexually inappropriate. Sometimes fathers or father figures have been absent or have um, such a negative presence in the home. Our sister mentioned having a father that had addiction. So many of us out there have had a parent, father or mother, that suffered from an addiction. So even their presence was a trigger because they didn't know what bag he was going to come out of if he had been drinking. I think
Right.
about one of my favorite shows of all times is Good Times.
Ah.
But let's be honest. Although James kept the job, he had a kind of a roughness about him, and it was Florida who was the nurturer. He wanted to whoop everybody. I'm gonna get the belt and just beat all of y'all. And a lot of his frustration from the lack of jobs or not getting the promotions and not getting out of the ghetto, all that frustration and TV show, yes, but it's somebody's real life. It,
Of
it
course.
landed in the home to where he didn't have that loving. To me, he wasn't loving a lot. It was more of a very hard, be a man, stand up, don't you cry kind of a persona. So for some people, they may have had a father physically present, but his presence brought them agony.
I get what you're saying. And to kind of piggyback a little bit about the good time, about good times, it the thing is, the more I watch that show, the more I pull from it. The
Me
more things that
too. Me
the more
too.
that I pull from it. It's
As
like,
an
so
adult, we see it a whole
yeah,
different way.
yeah. You
Yeah.
know, I look at, of course, I look at James Evans as as an imperfectly perfect guy
Right.
with a lot of flaws.
Mm.
You know, he had his moments to where he was a stand-up guy in his family, but then there were other moments to where to be a dis was you know, as a parent, you want to be the disciplinarian. You want to be a disciplinarian. Stern with it that, but sometimes being a stern disciplinarian can go way overboard.
Woo.
We've done
Yeah.
we that has happened.
And that
And
fear tactic, there was a fear. They feared James. They loved
yeah,
him as dad, but there was a fear, an element of fear. Like, don't bother him. Don't wake him up too early. He gonna get you. He gonna spank you, whoop you. They had different kind of whoopings, level 1 through level 10. I mean, when you get into that whole fear, and I guess for me, it seemed like some men value fear and control, where a child and a wife and the family needs to see the balance of nurture and discipline. Why does one parent have to be, well, go over there for nurture? I ain't no, go over there for your hug. Over here you get a whooping.
yeah.
I ain't hugging you, I ain't loving you. I'm gonna whoop you. But go to your mama for the love and nurture. I don't like that separation like that.
My dad was also a lover and a nurturer, but also to kind of say now as a child, and now and this is something that I admit, I had a healthy fear of my father,
Okay.
but it wasn't
Healthy fear.
but it wasn't fear to the point of like I'm afraid for my life
Hmm.
because I'm afraid for my life. So it was never an instance with that.
Okay.
There was a healthy fear there because he was a man of like he was a man of very little words, but a lot but action. And it took a lot for him to get to a point to where he would react to something. It would build up, and then all of a sudden, okay, now this is the last straw. Boom! Now I got to get on. Now I got to get on, y'all. Which was which was the expected response. So, but I also look at when we talk about shows like Good Times. Now the values were there,
Hmm.
but
Yeah, they were.
in a way they were skewed
Mm. Do tell.
because now again, James we James had a work ethic. He was always out there
Yeah.
trying to always doing what he had to do as
Right.
far as making sure the family stayed above water
That is
and
true.
above board.
I can agree with that.
But then he always showed loyalty to Florida.
True.
Now, I didn't do really a deep dive into his moral codes per se because I kind of looked at it from at kind of like above board. He had a very pretty good moral code, so he knew what was right and what was wrong, and he
Mm-hmm.
always and he, and he always tried to act in the best interest of his family, which
Mm-hmm.
was cool. But the dichotomy that I was focusing on was more like the dichotomy between Florida and James. It was
Mm-hmm.
always almost like a not passive aggressive, but his tone with Florida was almost always kind of a aggressive tone because whether especially when they disagreed on a lot of things.
Well, he
And I was
told
like,
her a woman belongs in two places. What he said was the woman belongs in the kitchen and the bedroom. So to me, James Evans Sr.'s values were a good meal and hot sex on a platter. That's
it
what he
is way
said.
more than that. It is way more than that. That's where the skewed part comes from.
But did you remember the episode where his father shows up out of nowhere? James's father was estranged.
Yep.
And Michael met him not even knowing it was his own granddaddy.
Right.
Okay? See, a lot
Yep.
of times when we have these dynamics, something else is going on.
Right.
The
Right.
reason
Yep.
why James was the way he was could have been that he was extremely hurt by his father, who just up and left him and his mama. Decided
Yep.
he wasn't dealing with it no more. Okay, I think I'm done with y'all. Thank you and good night.
But
Correct.
you know what? The other thing I think of what when you bring up a good point with that, sis. And the other part of that I think about it is that
He had a bad day because he had a bad day. James
the
was
the other
mean.
the other aspect about that I thought about it is I don't know if you guys thought about it from this point, because James's father wasn't around or he abandoned him. I think James Evans was doing his level best to
To not
ensure
be that.
that
See?
to
Come
not to
on.
not repeat the same mistakes of his
Come
father.
on. That's an excellent point. And a lot of times
Right.
trauma will cause you to want to overcompensate and 150% assure your kids this ain't gonna be our problem. We're gonna have some
Exactly.
problems, but this ain't gonna be it. I'm not leaving you. I don't care how
Yep.
bad it get. We're in this 2-bedroom, 0.5 bathroom, ghetto studio apartment, but I ain't going nowhere. I am here. I'm gonna keep going out to these dead end jobs. I'm gonna keep going out here. I can't give you meat every day. We're gonna have a good vegetable and a good cup of water, and we're gonna sing kumbaya.
There you go. But also the other thing that I think about with that is because he's overcompensating, that also leads to the other values of control and fear.
Mm.
Because when you're trying to add when you add the elements of control and fear,
Mm-hmm.
there are at least one or two aspects of at least one or two values go out the window.
Okay.
Normally, when you add in control and fear, and the two aspects that I think go out the window when we talk about values, when you add the value of control, when you add the value of fear, the value of honor
Mm.
and the value of fealty go out the window.
Okay. Now, what is fealty?
You know what? Webster's Dictionary. Thank God for
And
Webster's
how do you
Dictionary.
spell it?
It is spelled Fealty.
Okay, like realty.
Yep.
Okay, fealty.
So the way that they talk about it,
Okay.
it is it is a historical noun.
Okay.
So it means a formal acknowledgement of of loyalty to a lord. The way that I look at that is the formal acknowledgement of loyalty to a person.
Okay. Loyalty,
So
devotion, allegiance. Gotcha.
yeah. So
Okay.
those two. So when you introduce fear, you introduce control, honor. Well, actually, three of them go out the window. Honor goes out the window. Loyalty goes out the window. Fealty goes out the window
Mm.
because because now you have this aspect of control. It throws all three of those out the window, but but also with the same thing, respect is diminished.
But the question becomes, brother, for a person or man who wants to be in a power position and wants to be in control and is acting out of fear, what happened that made him live in that space? I'm going to give you an example. The words that came up with Miss J, our sister, she mentioned abandonment and she mentioned rejection. I
Right.
noticed that men and women handle those things differently. They're
Very much.
they're bad. I don't care who you are. If you've been
Very much so.
abandoned by a parent, rejected by a parent, it's a bad you all the way around.
Oh
But
yeah.
there is something very different about a man who has been abandoned or rejected. There's a pride that is hurt. In my opinion, I'm not a man, but from what I've seen, there is something that shows up in the arena of pride where you ain't gonna get me no more. I'm gonna show you. I'm gonna show you. No, no, And next thing you know, that man, be it a young boy, middle age, or older man, now he's fighting to not be
Yep.
abandoned again, or
Yep.
tossed aside again. I'm gonna get you before you get me. I've
Yep.
seen this. And then when we talked about marriage, we don't have enough of these conversations during dating. You need to know what that man or that woman values. And a lot
Yep.
of it shows up in their mannerisms, in their
Yep.
conversation. People will kind of show you what they value before they can tell you in a lot of cases.
Yep.
If they're vain and only value, well, I'm not ready yet. I'm still getting myself together. Like Miss Cheesecake Factory showed you, she felt she valued restaurants and not Cheesecake Factory. She valued her looks. She wanted you to wait 2 hours before she come downstairs. Whereas the guy who was taking her out valued her time, valued her, wanted to show her a
Yep.
good time. So people will
Exactly.
show you what their values are before they
Yep.
speak a word. We got to have these kind of conversations as you
And
get to know someone.
sis, you're so right. They're relevant because, and I said this before. When in the dating phase, this is when you're dating somebody. This is the intel gathering phase.
Yes.
You're gathering intel on somebody. She's you should be gathering intel on her, and she should be gathering intel on you. It's an equivalent exchange. I should be learning things about you. You should be learning things about me. And all this intel that you gather, it's just like in the intelligence game. You
Mm-hmm.
gather this intel. You gather intel from observation, from listening, from observing, and from taking in mannerisms, facial expressions, body language. All these things are intel gathering. And you when you do that, you also get these things called tells. Certain when you say certain things or certain subjects or certain situations, you know, if they respond in a certain way, or there's a certain body reaction that they give when you talk about it, when you broach a certain subject. All this stuff is intel gathering. And the one thing about intelligence that you would gathered intelligence, you have to act on it.
Mm.
Now, if you gather all that intel and you don't act on it, because now that's intelligence, now it's called actionable intel. Something that you've gathered the intelligence that you want. Now you need to act on it. And if you gather all that and you don't act on it, then shame on you. Because you had all the information available to you and you didn't act on it. If you notice that this person isn't who isn't doesn't meet whatever standards, whatever that it's cool to just it's cool to respectfully disconnect and say, hey, man, I enjoyed this with you, but I don't think this is going to be I don't think there's going to be a second time. But say it in a respectful manner. You know what I
Mhm.
mean?
Absolutely.
Because and again, because men and women act differently, because men and women
Absolutely.
view things differently.
Mhm.
Not that we're not a monolith. You know what I'm saying? And when we have these particular types of conversations, they do have to have it because you want to know what someone's values are because
Yes.
it brings about something that I thought about. My values don't have to completely align with yours,
Mm.
but
Okay.
some aspects of our values have to at least come together. There's
Okay.
some things that we at least have to have in common. My, you don't have to share the same values that I have. You don't have to even have this. You don't have to have the same values that I have. But there's at least maybe one or two of those values we should be in concert with. We should be aligned with. You know, if I'm respecting you, the expectation is that you respect me. If I'm
Right.
honoring you, the expectation is if you honor me. Now,
Mhm.
if your work ethic ain't like mine, I'm not gonna down you for that. If you're not as modest as I am, I'm not gonna down you for it. If your moral code is slightly gray,
That scares me, brother. I'm just gonna be
I mean,
honest.
oh well, we gonna talk we gonna
Ooh,
talk about that one
that
because if
make
you
me a little nervous, bro, Hamlet.
yeah, well, if your moral code slightly gray now, that's something we gonna talk about because I need to know whether you hang on the right side or the wrong side. Now, if you're on the gray side, then I might have to exit stage
I
left.
mean, you out
But
here trying to set it off.
yeah,
I
but I
don't
mean,
want to go to jail.
exactly. I mean, what people always and I think this is the thing with us as men and women, especially black men and black women. We think that our values are supposed to align with each other.
But isn't that
That's
equally yoked or equally something?
yes. However, I the the equally yoked the equally yoked topic is something that I've debunked at least a couple of times because a person can never be equal to another person. The reason I say that is because we're all on different levels.
Mm-hmm.
My, Bitch, that your education level is maybe higher
Right.
than mine.
I get that
And
part. Yeah.
your income level could be higher than so we're never gonna be equally yoked.
But the
Now,
equality part is that you see education as being important. So maybe I
right.
didn't go all the way through to become a doctor. I'm not a lawyer. I don't have a PhD or any of that. But I do see that education has its place. And I am pursuing. So I may not be at the same level, but the thought behind it or the significance of education or a good moral code or knowing right from wrong, we on that same, you know,
Yeah.
we kind of we right here on that,
Well, I
although
mean,
my path may have gone a different way than yours, but I still,
there are things
yeah.
that have to come into alignment, yes,
Okay.
but not everything has to be aligned
Okay.
because again, our backgrounds are different.
Right.
Um, our our upbringings are different. So
Yes.
those
Yes.
things are not good. Those things are not always going to align. And sometimes some of the things that
True.
we do
True.
don't always line up with the other person. But at least at least maybe to me at least one or two of the one at minimum three of the core values have to come into alignment. Everything else is negligible or negotiable. You know what I'm saying? Because because you don't want to have to when you try to find somebody that meets all of your core values. And I'm not gonna say that that's a difficult thing because it's not, but it can be when you're trying to find somebody that's equal to your core values because not everybody's gonna share the same values that you share. You know,
There's
some
core
people
values and there's personal preferences.
exactly,
You have to
exactly.
realize that there's going to be some tiered levels of stuff that just is a pet peeve,
That's true.
versus a core value. When you talk
Sure.
about core value, a company's core value, integrity, people, honesty,
Yep.
community. To me, those are the non-negotiables. It's just me talking. That's the stuff that makes LHG and
Right.
align with my spirituality. Now, do I say, okay, because you use Colgate and I prefer Dollar Tree toothpaste, your breath smell good, you in here. You got at least one tooth, you good. You good. One good, solid, strong tooth, you in here. So there is some stuff that I will not negotiate with,
Right.
but you still got to have a conversation either way to see
Correct.
what's the core value, personal preference, pet peeve. I can do without this, but I'll work with you because you still got this. You gotta have some definite heart to heart talks
Yeah.
about all of that. Carlos says our dads should be our first love. Oh, that's powerful.
All look
Powerful.
for what for a woman that's even doubly so.
It is. It is.
For a woman that's even doubly so because
Yeah.
not and again, this is never to say that a woman can't instill values in another woman. That's because they can, and so that's possible.
Right.
However,
I
a
agree with
man,
that.
a father will instill those other values,
Correct.
the much more tangible values,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and
Structure.
those are the values that a woman will carry with her
Mm,
through the rest of her days.
That's
You
true.
mm,
know, a father's gonna show her that you could respect yourself, show respect for yourself before show always respect yourself and respect others and never let anybody disrespect you. A
right.
father's always going to show you a fathers will always say, hey, look, it doesn't matter if they ain't working hard, you work hard. A
Correct.
father's always going to instill that work ethic in you. He's always going to give that point you to that moral code, which should always fall towards right. But
Mhm,
but we all should have a knowledge of right and wrong. So a father is always going to say, hey, look, this is right, this is wrong. If you're right, I'll defend you to the ends of the earth. If you're wrong, well, I'm gonna pull you to account for it and
right.
make you responsible for it. A father, I think fathers instill accountability and responsibility in a
Mhm,
woman.
mhm,
Correct.
They
mhm.
also instill they now don't get me wrong, it's instilled in boys too, in boys too, but it's even doubly so for the women, for the
Right.
young ladies,
Yes.
because
Mhm,
of the simple fact that accountability and responsibility is instilled into a woman from a father. Not to
mhm.
say that the mother can't do that because she can, but
Right.
it has more. But to me, it has a lot more value when it's instilled into a woman from a man because now
Mhm,
she's going to be accountable. She's going to be responsible. When she screws up, she's always going to raise her hand and say, "Ah, that was my bad. I'm sorry. Didn't mean to do that. It was me." You now you don't see that a lot with some of these women.
okay.
The exception
Okay. Let
are the women the women in our chat and the two women that's arrayed here.
me try to clean it up now.
No, I'm cleaning it up because it's a fact.
Okay. Okay.
So there are some women out here that don't show accountability, don't show responsibility.
Agreed.
Who showed you what that is? Who showed you what that meant? Who showed you what that looks like?
Mhm,
Did your father show you what accountability and responsibility is? Did you see your father take account to the things that he did wrong? Did you see your father raise his hand and say, "Hey, that was me. That was my bad. I'm sorry. That was me. I did it." Did you see your father do that? If yes, do you already know it? Do you know what accountability and responsibility is? If no, then that's something that's those are two skills that you need to learn.
mhm.
And again, dudes are the same. Guys are the same way because some of us out here run around with no accountability or responsibility, and the funny thing about it is we always want to hold women to accountability, but we can't hold our damn selves to accountability. And most of the time, that's the first thing our father taught. That's the first thing my father taught me was accountability and responsibility. If I screwed up, he made sure that I got pulled to the rug for it, and whatever consequence came from that action or that choice, I paid that consequence. Most time I pay that consequence with a smile on my face and be like, okay, got to learn this lesson. It also told me how to be responsible, to acknowledge when you do wrong or
Right.
when you have done wrong.
We
Don't
got
wait
three
until
comments, Fred, that I want to catch up on. Sinette talked about, is it okay for her to drink? And
I
CEO
responded no.
CEO
No.
CEO
No.
said drinking is not a bad thing. Sinette, she said, get your drink on. And Sinette says, thank God for the solid men in her life. She also had a few hood dudes that looked out for her. We thank God for the hood brothers. Thank you
Yep.
very much. Carla says, this breaks my heart for you, Miss J. I guess she's speaking of what you expressed earlier.
Mhm.
So thank you for
Which is
that.
where her father.
This Kai Butler, they have the attitude of, let me bring it back, got to do it her way. Some of us do. Some of us only know our way. Some of us didn't have any other way. I raised my daughter practically by myself with the help of my family. And when my husband and I got married, I was set in my way. Know why? Because it worked. But yes, I was set in my way. I had to step back and allow my husband to be a husband, a father, and relinquish some of that way. But when you are put in positions where it's your way or no way, and you have to make a way, then yeah, we can get into that place of, I'm going, go ahead, Miss J. I see you got your thing.
Because I knew this was gonna come up. And and the thing of it is, as I said earlier, as a woman, as a young girl, when you have a father, right, or a 2-parent household, you could say, there are certain attributes that girls take on,
Yes,
that you don't when you don't have that male perspective in the home.
absolutely.
So, like, say for instance, and I know Carla, that's one of my girlfriends, right?
Mm-hmm.
She is, because she's had a father and because she has fond memories, she presents herself in a very feminine way.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
But oftentimes, and I'll use myself as an example, because I didn't have my father, and I didn't really have really good male role models, right?
Come on.
I had a grandmother who was married, but she was the breadwinner.
Okay.
It went her way or the highway.
Yep, I can relate.
Right? So if you went against the grain of whatever she had going on, that was a problem.
A whole problem.
Right? Yep. Exactly. So with that, you grow up with the ideal of you have to take on these masculine energies.
Yes. Preach, sis.
You got to be the woman and the man in your household now. Because there was no man, or there was no effective man in the household. So this is where a lot of women now, I feel like there are a lot of women that has lost sight almost of what their role is, what their true role is.
Yes.
Because we have been conditioned to be both.
Yes.
When that's not our job. You know what I mean? Yep. And that's not to say to those women that have done it that you're less than or anything like that. You've done what you had to do. You did the best that you could do. You know what I mean? But ultimately, realistically,
Mm-hmm.
We took on roles that we weren't supposed to.
Absolutely. Agreed.
You
Agreed.
know? And I think this is where the dynamic really changes in our family perspectives, because
Yes.
this is why, as Kai was saying, you have so many women that, have like this nonchalant attitude towards men, or you have
Mm-hmm.
women that are somewhat opportunistic when it
Mm-hmm.
comes to men, because it's like, if you're not giving me something, or you're not bringing me something to my household or to my space, then you're not good enough for me.
Right.
You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
it's kind of sad that we limit our men to just what you can
What
bring.
you can bring.
Correct.
That's real talk. You have a
But
lot of good points. I want to define this very important word. They have the attitude. All an attitude is a pair of glasses.
Mm-hmm.
It is what we see our life through.
Correct.
right,
What your attitude is really made up of your experiences,
Mm-hmm.
who you had in your life, who you didn't.
Mm-hmm.
That frames and shapes your attitude.
Correct.
You don't really know any other way to see life other than through the lenses that are called your eyes.
Correct.
So I
yep,
agree with you, because what Miss J just described was my home. It wasn't a dominant grandmother, it was my mother. My mother was the breadwinner. She was the intellectual of the couple. She was the leader of the couple. She led in corporate, and she led at home. She wore the pants, the skirt, the suit, the choir robe, and the apron. She wore every garment. And that's what I grew up seeing. So guess what? When I walked down the aisle, guess what Mr. Gooden got?
That's right.
My mama.
That's it.
And I had to repent. I had to deprogram. I had to restructure my way of thinking, because mama taught us, taught her girls to be independent. Yeah,
Correct.
you need him, but you don't need him. He ain't gonna know
see,
too much. You're
Yeah.
gonna be smarter than him.
Yeah.
Men are from Pluto and women are from heaven. I
Yes.
mean, it's just, come on. We're gonna be real today.
That's true.
So
That's true.
when you are indoctrinated to see men in a certain light, and then when it came to my biological father, whom I love dearly and is alive and well, what she said about him was not good.
Yeah.
She brought me into that dynamic that I don't think a child should be brought into. If
Right.
y'all didn't work, that's on y'all. I'm here because y'all did something right. Something happened to create me.
Right.
right.
What happened with the relationship, y'all can handle that as adults. I don't believe in bringing a child into the relationship woes. He ain't
Nope,
right, girl. He don't love you. He ain't right. No, don't do that.
Yeah.
don't
Don't do
do it.
that.
Yeah.
Because now you got me seeing men as the enemy.
Correct. Correct.
But see, but that goes to what I wanted to bring up real quick, because it goes to what our value. What you're talking about is a lot about what your values were growing up as a child,
Yes.
growing up as a girl, as a
Yes.
young lady.
Yes.
So the values that we get from, whether it's from our parents, grandparents, or whomever, they're mostly inherited by
Yes.
observation and experience,
Come on.
but they can also be imposed by force. And
Well.
what I mean being imposed by force, they can be imposed by force by you not having that influential person in your life, and then you go to the streets,
Yeah.
Okay.
and
Okay.
they impose those values up on you, or you go somewhere else and they impose what they believe are their values on you, and then you walk with those values. So a lot
Mhm.
of the times, most of the times, I'll say 70% of the times, the values that we get are inherited by observation, by watching our
Right.
parents, by watching
Mhm.
our grandparents, by watching our aunts
Yes.
and uncles.
Our
Right.
And
village.
those,
What else do
and
we
those yeah,
have?
our village.
Right.
But when we go outside of that village, if those values aren't weird, if we don't inherit those values, or those values aren't imparted to us off the top, then when we go to other places,
Mm-hmm.
or we're seeking value,
We're seeking it.
but we're also wanting to have a set of values that we can live by and that we can abide by. Most
Mhm.
of the time we go to those places, and those bad places are those places impose their values on you. It
Mm,
is for it is forcefully, because now it forcefully takes you. It rips all the things that you've been taught as a kid away from you,
Mhm.
and it replaces it with their values. That aspect of control, that aspect of fear, that aspect of um, abuse, and all those things. Because, like I said earlier, before you came back on, Miss Jane, you replace you add control, the value of control, the value of fear. Honor, loyalty, and fealty go out the window, because now they're replaced with control and fear. And then and most of the time, that's how a lot of us that's how a lot of us as men operate, because
mhm.
our fathers weren't there to teach us how to be a cool, calm, and collected person, how to have a good work ethic,
Right.
how to be modest, how to have a good moral code. Now we
Mhm.
go over here to this other environment, and now their values of fear, control, power, those are imposed upon us, and the other values that we were taught, that we were barely taught, have been stripped away and is replaced with the
Wow.
other values. And now we live our life through those values, and I strongly believe that's how we hurt each other,
Right.
Right. And
because now
that's
you
why
want to be
we are
powerful.
here. We've been in an antagonistic battle with each other as men and women. And
Yep.
Ty Butler, you are right. There are women who don't want to change their way of thinking because they mama said it, and
Yep.
to them, mama is God.
Yeah.
Yep.
And they're not willing to shift their mindset. And because they've been, ingrained to see men as just give me money, pay my phone bill, bills, 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 or you a scrub, scrub, scrub. Because that's how they've been raised. They don't want to do anything different because thinking differently puts the onus on them to
Yep.
change. And
Correct.
people don't want to change. They are comfortable in their dysfunction. They're
Mhm.
comfortable in this. Well, you better not take me to Cheesecake Factory. I want to go to the best steakhouse in the land. Don't you spend no 23 bucks on me. I should be having scrimps and lobster tails and crab legs. Yeah,
Uh, no,
yeah. Okay.
no,
Right.
that
Yeah.
no, no, and double no.
So now the other side is my mom didn't speak of my dad, walked by him and his family and had no clue. Wow.
Mm.
That's
You
crazy.
walked by your father and your father's family and didn't even know who they were, Sinette. Ooh, that's heavy. All you heard was secondhand stuff. And this goes back to the fact that you said this, Sinette, in an earlier comment.
Yeah.
The family ain't talking.
Yeah.
We
Nope.
holding secrets and we're hiding the truth from these young people, making them think certain things, or they wasn't there, or they maybe they were there. And
Right.
you said
Right.
that's your sister, that's really your mama, and you calling him uncle, that's your daddy. I mean, there's so much family stuff. I mean, that's your daddy. You ain't even know that's your daddy. It's
Right.
so much family stuff that's swept under the rug, scandals and stuff, that we grow up thinking a certain way, and we wonder why we are the way we are.
Mhm.
it's it, that's see, the thing of it is, like I mentioned earlier, when all those things are stripped away from you as a kid, as a child, whether it's male or female, you have all these other maladjusted values in you, and that's how you operate. And you operate within those maladjusted values because you were taught better, but those things weren't reinforced they weren't reinforced properly. So now that these other people are hammering home these other values, that's what you live by. That's that's your code. That's whatever. That's your code. That's what you live by. And when we live through power, when we try to control people, when we try to manipulate, and we try to harass and harangue people, that is how we hurt people.
But can I
That's
be
how we.
honest about what I thought men value? And it's gonna come across a little outlandish, but I'm just gonna go there. I can only speak through my experience. I thought men valued TNA. There
No,
it is.
no,
BBLs,
no.
sex, sex,
Superficial
and
things.
more sex.
So the third one,
I'm just
that
saying.
is it. The
It's
third
the
one is in
third one.
the third one is in a man's nature to want to have sex. But the other stuff though, that's very, very subjective because not all guys like TNA. Not all dudes like BBLs and stuff like that.
Because I hear people, she got to have bing, boom, boom. She got to be able to bat out and bat out and blah, 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 yeah.
Oh, what's all that superficial stuff that goes
You got to be like,
goes away?
can't be like this. She got to be like,
Oh,
got to be like,
superficial stuff that goes away.
That is funny. Oh my god.
I'm just
That's
saying.
superficial stuff. That stuff goes away through the patches of time and the introduction of gravity.
Mm-hmm.
And
So
gravity will pull some things down at the lower and
yeah,
held up at one time.
yeah. Because what?
Kyle
Okay,
Butler says no. So that's not what you value.
no.
Okay, let's talk
That-
about that. Because I
don't-
hear a lot of brothers when it comes to what you want in a woman, they
Yeah.
saying she got to have a big this, she got to have big that, she got to be able to drop it like it's hot and hold it like it's cold. She got to be able to do all this other kind of acrobatics, jump off the dresser, land counterclockwise on that thing, and then spin around.
See that now we talk about WWE wrestling moves now. That's no,
Straight up
that's
Hulk
dangerous
Hogan
stuff,
junkyard
man.
dog kind of stuff.
Yeah, that's dangerous stuff, man. I mean, I can't speak for every guy, but I can speak from my particular aspect.
Mm-hmm.
For a woman, for me that is, gosh, to have to want to have all that stuff, and then you as a woman don't have no substance.
See? Okay, substance.
That's disrespectful to me.
I
Cause,
hear you.
Cause I want to have
okay.
Cause I want to have a conversation with you.
Let's change.
The thing of it is, this is something that I say. This is applicable to men and women because women want the 666, pack, 6 figures, 6-pack. I forgot what the other one was. Oh, 6 inches.
Oh,
So I've heard that. I've heard that a couple.
Wait. I ain't heard that.
I've heard it.
6 figures.
6 figures, 6-pack, 6 inches.
And 6 inches.
Yeah. So again, superficial things, superficial stuff. One thing that I found out that we as black men and women we are fixated on the superficial.
You got a point.
Yeah.
To know someone, look, to know somebody, you start inside out.
Okay, you talking good.
My person, the person that I'm with, that I've been with for almost 4 years now, started inside.
Okay.
We already knew each other from high school and stuff like that. So that wasn't the big deal.
Okay.
But we learned more about each other when we talk to each other, when we conversate, when we sit down and have conversations and things of that nature, and we laugh and we joke and we play around, and you learn more about
what's number 4.
What's number 4.
Kai said you forgot number 4. I gotta hear this.
Me too.
A 4-pack, 4 inches, and a 4 figure. Wendy's got a 4 meal at Wendy's. So tell me about this 4.
Mm-hmm.
I don't hear this.
I can't wait. Oh, most women listen to get they. Oh, see, there you go. Most women listen to get they. See, a lot of women, not saying y'all, but some women want to listen to their girlfriend's input because they feel that it's important. They feel that's important. That's cool. Your input's cool. I listen to my brothers to get their input. It is cool. However, it's still the onus is still on me.
But let me tell you something about women. I will say this, and I have girlfriends. They will listen to me about everything but that man.
See,
I'm talking about my people to my people. If I mention that man, they don't want to hear nothing about that. But I love it at him, girl. I love it at him.
they don't want to hear it.
We don't
They be like
talk
that.
about we ain't there no more. I have learned to let these sisters, you know he ain't right. You know he got a harem, a quorum, and a concubine university.com.
Oh Lord,
Don't you I'm not dealing with women and they men no more. Because they don't want to talk about that.
nope.
And I was like that
It is.
too. I had some girlfriends like LH, well, what LH. Latanya, he ain't got no teeth, girl. I said, who needs teeth to worship God? Don't nobody. You better whistle your worship. Don't nobody need no teeth. That's he intelligent. He is smart. He is intelligent. Who needs teeth? They get in the way, honey. Gum it.
And you, I'm glad that you mentioned religion.
I have heard it all. I have heard it.
I'm glad you mentioned religion because, good God,
Just say it.
I get you. But I'm glad you mentioned the religion part of it.
Don't have a relationship, but try to tell you how to run. Yes, there are a few young ladies who will give you all the advice and ain't got nary a nobody. You are right, but that's for the person to be an adult and say, "I'm not sure if you're the best source."
Exactly.
Right now in that category, mademoiselle.
How you gonna tell me about a relationship if you ain't got one?
I mean, you got to know who to go to about different, different topics. Absolutely. Carla says, I can do ugly, but I can't do anything with body parts missing. Are you saying teeth are non-negotiable?
Oh my God.
I think she talking about limbs.
Okay. I don't know.
I think she talking about limbs.
So no missing legs, no missing arms, no missing toes. Y'all better stop. Men, go to the doctor because y'all are diabetic selves is losing these toes. Go to the doctor. Okay, get right or get left.
See, but I'm glad you brought up the religion part of it, though, sis, because unfortunately, religion can impose skewed values on a person.
Very much so.
They can impose the most skewed values on a person, and sometimes that particular part of it.
She wants pretty teeth. She wants y'all to have y'all grill right. No guns for Carla. She don't want to see your guns.
Lord have mercy. So
but I get
you know what? You know what?
But let's talk about that because the whole religious aspect of a person's life, depending on how they were raised and how much emphasis they put on spirituality versus religion, relationship versus religion, that could be a deal breaker for a lot of people. I was that one that was like, you got to be in church every Sunday. Then I found out the ones who was at church every Sunday was heathens. So I'm like, maybe that's not a good. Did you go 2 out of the 4 Sundays? I mean, are you listening? You take notes when you go. I mean, you got to maybe have some other questions. Yeah, but it could be a deal breaker for many people.
But they put those requirements into who they're looking for.
Ooh, okay.
And also, if you think about it from the opposite, from the other part of it, and that part, from that aspect, you also look at it as a child growing up. But if you grew up in a strictly religious family, then those religious values were ingrained on you as a child.
Yes.
And as an adult, you carry that carries over. Because all those religious values that you had, they carry over.
And many of them are superficial and unfounded.
They are.
Exactly.
They are.
So you will have to sift through some of that if it's worth it. What
Yeah.
that person is all in, like if they're in a certain denomination and they've been there for all their life. I was blessed that my husband just joined my church. He did, I was like, Lord, I really don't want to, but he just made it easy, and he was already visiting my church, and we ended up being cool on that level. But for
Right.
some, their allegiance to a denomination is deep, and it runs in their lineage.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that could be, that's a whole show right there.
And
It is.
and for me,
It is.
I mean, so I'm my lineage as far as religion is concerned is Southern Baptist. So I'm
Okay.
used to I'm as a child, I was used to going to church on Sundays. I was used to hearing my uncle give these fiery sermons, until he was hoarse. And then
Oh, he was a hooper.
also,
Yeah.
look,
Ooh-wee. That is
until he
old.
was hoarse. And
That's
then
old school there.
yeah, and then go down to the basement for a little bit, then go home.
Church
You know what I'm
basement
saying?
pound cake. Are you serious?
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And
Jesus.
but as I so I do so those values were instilled in me as well. But as I got older,
Mm-hmm.
I learned that certain aspects of religion, especially nowadays. And now this is for this ain't for this is not something that I say for all. It's not all churches don't do this. So there's some great churches out there.
Mm.
So this not a wide swath or wide cut at anybody's church or
Right.
anything of that nature. So I apologize if it sounds that way, but there are some religions that just do the practice of religion and don't do the practice of spirituality or Christ or what true Christianity is.
Correct.
And
Mm.
that is what skews a person's values because of course we all read about we all follow it to we are all supposed to follow it to the letter of the word, but it's fine and that's true. However, when you skew that, you skew that, then you add these religious values to it. Now is you got to talk about chastity. Now you're talking about serve serve God in deed and spirit of truth. Now these are things that we're supposed to do. Serve God in
Right.
spirit of truth, and it with all our hearts. That's the thing that these are things that we're commanded to do by God. But
Mm.
then what I mean by the values is when you remix these things,
Mm.
Mm.
that skews the value. So when you take a, a chapter and a verse and then you remix it to
Mm.
fit something,
Right.
that's where people's values get skewed. And then now they have this distorted sense of respect and honor and loyalty because
Mhm.
if and then they look at it, if you ain't loyal to this church, then you ain't loyal to nobody. Or if you don't honor and respect, you don't honor and respect the person in this house, then you're with it. And that's crazy.
Right.
If I already respect you and I already honor you, then why you don't have to pound that in my head.
Right. Right.
And they throw that out there to make it seem like that's values. No, that's not values because you're not talking. Because now you're not talking. It sounds like you're talking good, but you ain't talking good. Because
Right.
now you lead people to destruction.
Right.
And
I
like I
did
said,
I did what Carla says is a deal breaker. When I was dating prior to marriage and I would talk to a gentleman about Christianity, specifically abstinence, it ruled out a lot of people real fast. Because most
yeah.
brothers said they ain't going without T and A.
See, and that's crazy. And that's crazy as
Okay.
hell.
I'm just
Why
being
you put the
hey,
condition on somebody to go to church? To go to
like,
church.
girl, you can praise God all you want, but that T and that A need to be mine.
Nah,
Mhm.
man.
I'm
Nah.
just saying. They said it.
I'm, and see, the funny thing about it is, me personally, I don't mind having those religious conversations, but in my elder age now, I value spirituality now more than I value religion because
Correct.
now that I'm entering my own walk with God and I'm
Mhm.
having my own personal relationship with God,
That's true.
that has more relevance to me now.
It does.
That's a great thing.
It does.
So I
That's
so I don't
that's
so, so
ideal.
I look at it, I'm not bound by a building.
All right now, you better preach tonight.
Cause my relationship with him is this our thing.
Yeah, I
So
agree.
he talked to me like I'm the homie, like you know what I'm saying? And so I don't know. I think when you throw religious values into when you pound religious values into a person, those values are what they take away from their life, and that's what I mean by imposing values on somebody. When you pound those things into somebody, it can have a calamitous effect on the
Mm,
person, but also on the people that they come into orbit with or they come into contact with.
Mm.
Because now they're
don't
just
be afraid. That's a good value. That's a very good
yeah, buddy. I mean, and look, I don't know.
absolutely.
It's it's that because well, I think when we talk about stuff like that, it a very becomes a sensitive subject because on
Mm-hmm.
the one hand, you have people that are
Mm-hmm.
truly religious and they go by the traditions of religion, and then you
Yes.
have other people on the opposite end of the spectrum who are who are spiritual and embrace the personal connection with God instead of just going through all the traditions and stuff like that. Because then it
Right.
becomes it becomes a really crazy conflict with people, and now you got enemies on both sides of the river, and these people were
Mm-hmm.
people that you went to church with, that y'all prayed together and all this other stuff, and now they're on the opposite side of the river, and they consider
Ooh-wee.
you a mortal enemy. You know what I'm saying?
It can go left really fast.
Yeah.
Right.
If it could go left real fast. Well, bro, we gotta wrap this up because we gotta something that we're gonna look at before we cut out for the night.
Yes. So yeah, and I am so happy and I'm so proud to
This is
present this to
good.
y'all, man. So give me a quick second. I'm gonna throw this up here real quick.
Thank y'all for being with us tonight. Tag, share, subscribe, like us on Facebook and YouTube, please.
This website right here, my brother, the August Wear Collection.
Nephew.
I need y'all to go to this website for real, because this guy got some great products right here. These hoodies. This is the new one, right? LSG.
The online store just dropped today. This
Yes,
is hot off the press.
yes. Look at all these shirts. The ones that I like the most. This one right here.
Yes, that's a new line. That's a new line. Dope
Dope
black
black man.
man. Yep.
Look,
And Black
thi-
King.
look. I need y'all to go to this website. I'm gonna copy it and I'm gonna paste it in our chat. So you guys, please go to this website because there's some good stuff there for y'all. I want y'all to do that. Want y'all to please do that favor for me
Yeah.
because support this young man, support black businesses, something
Mhm.
that we as people of color need to do more of,
Correct.
because
Absolutely we do.
I think when we support black businesses, it's a win-win for all of us.
It
It is
is.
definitely a win-win for all of us. So
And a positive
second,
message. Seeing that we've been
yes,
talking about the value and values of men, the shirt that says dope black man, Black King. We have to, and we can do better as women, valuing our brothers. We can, and we
yep,
shall. Many of us have already been on that path.
yep,
So I totally agree with the fact that these conversations are needed and necessary. Thank you to Miss J. Always
yes,
a pleasure having our sister hanging out with us. And we've hung out with you before, and we always enjoy ourselves. Just our camaraderie, our sisterhood, brotherhood. This is what we do.
It
Uh,
is.
and this is how we value each other. We show
Correct.
up.
that's right,
We show up.
that's right. Look,
Fred,
and,
one more thing to you, Fred. To you, Frederick Beatty, I value you. I need you to know that. And I mean
Thank you.
that from the bottom of my heart. Thank you for the check-ins. Whatever you do, don't
Thank-
stop.
Yes,
Because
ma'am.
I have seen a change in you because of your own check-ins. Your transparency, your confession is leading you down a healing path
Yeah.
that is amazing. Do not stop. I'm asking the brothers to tap into man cave conversations. You need a safe space to just be who you are.
Right.
Without us pulling on you, you need a safe space to talk about what affects you as men,
Yeah.
what you're dealing with, what your thought life is like. And that's a space for just y'all. Without us kicking the door in with our attitudes, that's y'all space. So
Right.
please follow Man Cave Conversations. We want to be better for each other. As we
Always.
nourish ourselves, we're nourishing relationships and family. So this is much needed. Hats off to you, bro.
I appreciate that. Miss J, let everybody know who you are, where they can find you.
Yes, yes. You all can find me on Facebook as Shawan Jones. I'm also on Instagram as Phoenix to Rise. You can also reach me on my Shaking Up the Algorithms page on Facebook, Instagram, as well as on TikTok as well. Um, we air our shows every Sunday night at 6 p.m. Central Time, 7 p.m. Eastern Time. Make sure that you come and check us out. Also, like, share, and subscribe if you get an opportunity to. Um, but just like with Trailblazers Radio, we are definitely trying to bring more topics and more conversation to bring people to a level of healing, to unpack some things, and to be able to just live their life more effectively. So,
Yes.
That's it. That's it. And as we close out, our brothers, I want to pose a question to y'all. A very serious question. First question I want to ask y'all: what are your values?
Mm.
Truly, what are your values? Be honest with yourself. What are those values? Where did they come from? Were they inherited by observation, or were they imposed upon you by force? What values do you have? Are you standing on those values, or are you just standing in place?
mm,
All
good.
right.
That's good.
Your value your values deter your values are a very large part. Our values as men play a large part in who play a large part in our identity
Yes.
as men.
Mhm, mhm.
That's good.
Our values are the things that mold us, that shape us, that define that the big neon sign that sits on top of our heads that people look at,
Mm.
and they make the determination of who we are
Right.
or what we are.
Absolutely.
If the reason I ask you what if you're standing on your values or you just standing in place, if you're standing on your values, that means you're living your values out loud. If you're a man of honor, if you're a man of loyalty or respect, then you're living these values out loud. Now, if you're just standing, then you're not living these values out loud, or you're living by another set of values. Maybe you're living with the value of control and fear.
Mm.
Maybe you're living with the value of despondency and despair.
Mm,
Or maybe you're just a young man that was not in there, wasn't given any values, or
Mm.
you didn't know you don't know what those are.
mm,
If you don't know what those are, I implore you to find out what they are, which means getting into a relationship with your father. If your
Mm.
mm,
father, if your father's present,
mm,
now this
Good.
goes for both men and women. If your father is present, get into a relationship with your father.
mm.
That's good.
Your father will instill the two main values that I think are the most important ones: accountability and responsibility. Those two will take you a long way. If you don't have a father, if your father's not present, or your father's deceased, first of all, I'm sorry for your loss. I apologize, and I'm sorry for your loss. But
Mm.
secondly, get yourself aligned with positive male role models,
Yeah,
Mhm.
that's
whether
good.
that be whether it be an uncle, a grandfather, an older male, whomever. But before you put yourself in covenant or put yourself in covenant alignment with this male, make sure you check him out first to make sure that his values are what you're seeking.
Right.
That's good.
Ladies, ladies, our our values don't have to align with each other. Just some of the core values. If if we try to align our values with if we try to align every value, we're just nitpicking, and
Mhm.
now we're just kind of just nitpicking and just now we're just throwing it. We picking grass instead. We're pulling grass instead of weeds.
Wow.
So one of the things I want us as black men and black women to do is, first of all, number one, value each other.
Mm-hmm.
If we don't value each other, I put it like this: if we continue to devalue each other at the
Mhm.
rate we're going,
Correct.
the
Absolutely.
the things that we talk about, like community, togetherness, and oneness, those will be concepts that are those will be more than just dying concepts. Those concepts will be extinct.
Mhm. Correct.
Mhm.
Brothers, sisters, value each other. See value in one another. Understand what each other's values are.
Yes.
Respect those values and respect those boundaries. More importantly, respect each other,
Mhm.
Yes.
because I've said it once, I've said it twice, I will say it again. The divide between us as black men and black women is bigger than the Grand Canyon,
We.
Mm.
and, and it gets bigger by the day.
Mm.
The only way we are going to be able to at least at least put some closeness between us is that we throw away these misconceptions that we have of each other, and we literally sit down and talk to one another,
Mhm.
understand each other. If we understand each other, then we can close that divide. I heard a good friend. I call him a good friend, but there's something that I did. He said something that I disagree with highly. He said he believed that we should make a new deal with our women.
Mm.
I say to that, hell no.
What kind of new deal?
Exactly.
So I did. He didn't say what he means. He didn't say what it was, but I say hell no to that.
He
The
got to
reason I
say
say
something.
the reason I say hell no, the reason I say hell no to that is because what's wrong with the deal that we have in place that God ordained for us?
Mm.
Okay, I get
The
you.
deal that the deal that God has in place for us is the current deal that's in place.
And who is he be making any kind of deals? Who is he to make a deal?
to
Correct.
to
I
to, impo- to impose
like
to,
you, Carla Smith. I like you, girl.
to, to impose to impose a new deal with our women is ridiculous.
Woo.
It's stupid. It's asinine, and it really doesn't make any sense because the deal that we have with God when it comes to us is in place. It's a perfect deal. But
Okay.
Right.
we as black men and women don't walk
Love
in it.
each other. That's a great
We
deal.
don't act in it. None of that. So new deal. I say hell no to.
Ah,
I say hell no to that. And I said this the last show that we had. There is a there is an unfair narrative of us as black people, especially us as black men. That narrative is old as time itself.
Mhm.
mm,
People say we need to change the narrative. I say hell no to that too, because changing a narrative takes way too long.
Right.
In order to do that, you gotta change the hearts and minds of people. That
mm.
that requires an element of time.
Correct.
Time we don't have. So instead of changing the narrative, how about we just start over and write a new narrative?
All right.
A new narrative of black men that are healed, healthy, and whole.
Mm.
All
Yeah.
right. Like that. That's
Yeah.
a good deal.
Healthy,
That's a good deal right there.
healthy manhood
It is.
starts from the origin of
Healthy
us.
manhood. Ooh,
It starts from the
that's
origin of
only part
us.
5.
Yep.
Yep, we
Health,
just called
healthy
it.
manhood starts from the origin of us, guys. If we are to be healed and whole and healthy, it
Whew,
starts with us first.
that is profound. That is profound.
Look, I would look. Look. I could probably be up here the rest of the night saying all this stuff, but look, healthy manhood for us as brothers is a must because for too long we have been walking around here unhealthy, not whole,
Right.
not healed, and that's destructive. That's
Yeah,
destructive to us. It's destructive to the people that we care about. It's most definitely destructive to our children
Right.
oh,
because they
absolutely.
don't get to see a version of us that is healthy and whole. They see the broken, dysfunctional, disjointed person that we are.
Mhm.
And for me personally, my marathon into being a better person, a healthy person, a healed person, a whole person
Mhm.
continues because I'll know it when I reach that finish line or that pinnacle. But until then, my work continues. Ms. J, thank you so very much for being here. I most definitely
Yes, thank
appreciate
you,
that.
sis.
And
Anytime. Anytime.
most definitely tune in tomorrow for Critical Conversation at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. The subject of tomorrow is blending families and the step parent child dynamic. That's going to be a great conversation.
We'll
So
get you
make sure
on
y'all
there.
join LSG in the chat and let's
Yes,
get it. I love y'all to life. I love y'all to live. The three things I always say as I always close these shows. Number one, y'all take care of each other, please. Also, please love on each other. Number three, it's a crazy world out here, y'all. So please, above all things, please be safe, y'all.
yes.
Please be safe. I love y'all. Y'all have a good one, and we will see y'all in the next one.
All right.